Back, the Defence Minister won't confirm whether Beijing has been successful in its push to recruit former ADF personnel to work for the Chinese military. But he's ordered an internal review into processes within Defence, which will report back by the middle of next month. Joining us now for more on this is Neil James, the Executive Director with the Australia Defence Association. Neil, thank you for your time. We appreciate it. What is your understanding of these reports and this review? I assume you'd be pretty surprised if China's push to recruit these former ADF personnel has actually been successful.
Well, you would hope it wasn't. I mean, there's a moral and a professional obligation as much as there's a legal one for former Australian Defence Force personnel to not help train a potential adversary.
And I assume that's made pretty clear to departing ADF personnel that putting their skills to use to help China isn't on. I mean, surely that would go against the absolute grain for them after years of training in that space.
Well, it's not a very good look, is it? But the fact is that there's a long history in Australia of our legislation letting down the Defence Force. You know, going back to Wilfred Burchett helping the North Koreans in the Korean War, and they didn't actually close that loophole until 2001. Then you had David Hicks, who served with the Taliban in Afghanistan. That loophole's been shut. Obviously, we have to make certain that there are no loopholes now for people who are thinking of going and training an authoritarian power that's a potential adversary in the future.
So, Neil, how vulnerable do you think departing ADF personnel could be to these sorts of approaches? What else should we be doing to protect them?
Yeah, it's an interesting question, isn't it? You know, people tend to forget their obligations sometimes when they move on to another phase of their lives. But I think most people in the Defence Force would feel a great sense of unease if they're approached to do this type of work in some circumstances. You can actually work for a foreign government if you get an ally or a democracy, if you get permission from the government. In some cases, the permission has to be as high as the Attorney General. But it would appear from the British and American experience that people have just gone off and done this for the money. And that would be quite a worrying thing for most serving Defence Force personnel, that some of their predecessors may be helping someone in the future to have the potential to kill them. And that's just not on. And if there's any loopholes in the law, they need to be closed immediately. And if there's anyone involved after those loopholes are closed, they need to be prosecuted.